live on YouTube on my 44 channel.
That he brought Orpheus across.
I don't even need nobody to check me out, because when you check me out,
Orpheus entered the palace.
we're gonna watch a movie together.
Persephone, the king and queen of the dead, he began to sing. He sang of his love for Eurydice and said she had been taken away too soon. The day would come when she, like all living creatures, dwelled in the land of the dead for eternity. So couldn't Hades grant her just a few more years on Earth? In the moment after Orpheus finished, all hell stood still. Sisyphus no longer rolled his rock up the hill. Tantalus did not reach for the water he would never be allowed to drink. Even the Furies, the demonic goddesses of vengeance, wept. Hades and Persephone granted Orpheus's plea, but on one condition. As he climbed back out of the underworld, he must not turn around to see if Eurydice was following behind him. If he did, she would return to the land of the dead forever. Orpheus began to climb. With each step, he worried more and more about whether Eurydice was behind him. He heard nothing. Where were her footsteps? Finally, just before he stepped out of the underworld and into the bright light of day, he gave in to temptation. Orpheus tried to return to the underworld, but was refused entry. Separated from Eurydice, Orpheus swore never to love another woman again. Instead, he sat in a grove of trees and sang songs of lovers. There was Ganymede, the beautiful boy who Zeus made drink-bearer to the gods. There was Mira, who loved her father and was punished for it. And Pygmalion, who sculpted his ideal woman out of ivory, then prayed to Venus until she came to life. And there was Venus herself, whose beautiful Adonis was killed by a wild boar. It was as if Orpheus's own love and loss had allowed him to see into the hearts of gods and people everywhere. For some, however, poetry was not enough. A group of wild women called the Maenads could not bear the thought that a poet who sang so beautifully of love would not love them. Their jealousy drove them to a frenzy, and they destroyed poor Orpheus. The birds, nature's singers, mourned Orpheus, as did the rivers, who made music as they babbled. The world had lost two great souls. Orpheus and Eurydice had loved each other so deeply that when they were separated, Orpheus had understood the pain and joys of lovers everywhere, and a new art form, the love poem, was born. While the world wept, Orpheus found peace and his other half in the underworld. There, to this day, he walks with Eurydice along the banks of the river Styx. Sometimes they stroll side by side. Sometimes she is in front. And sometimes he takes the lead, turning to look back at her as often as he likes. TED-Ed is a nonprofit. If you value our work, please consider supporting it on patreon.com/TED-Ed. Thor, son of Odin, god of thunder and protector of mankind, struggled mightily against his greatest challenge yet, opening a bag of food. It had all started when Thor, along with his fleet-footed human servant Thjalfi and Loki, the trickster god, set out on a journey to Jotunheim, land of the giants. Along the way, they met a giant named Skrymir, who offered to accompany them and even carry their provisions in his bag. But when they made camp, Skrymir dozed off, and Thor couldn't untie the sack. Frustrated and hungry, Thor tried to wake the giant 3 times by striking his head with his hammer, Mjolnir, as hard as he could. But each time, Skrymir thought it was only a falling acorn and went back to sleep. The next morning, Skrymir departed, and eventually the travelers reached a massive fortress called Utgard. Inside the long hall, they met the king of giants, Utgard Loki, who greeted his guests with a challenge. Each of them was to prove they were the best at some particular skill. Loki went first, declaring himself the world's fastest eater. To test him, the king summoned his servant Logi, and the two were placed at either end of a long trough stuffed with food. Loki ate his way inward with blinding speed, but when the contestants met in the center, Loki saw that his adversary had not only eaten just as much food, but also the bones and even the trough itself. Next was Thjalfi, who could outrun anything in the wild. The king summoned an ethereal-looking giant named Hugi, who outraced Thjalfi easily. But the boy would not give up and demanded a rematch. This time, Thjalfi finished close behind, and the king admitted he'd never seen a human run so fast. Thjalfi tried a third time, running like his life depended on it, but Hugi was even faster than before. Finally, it was Thor's turn. The king offered him a drinking horn, saying all his men could drain it in 2 gulps. Thor raised it to his lips and drank the surprisingly cold and salty mead in the longest gulp he could muster, then a second, then a third. But the level of the mead in the horn was only slightly lowered. To test Thor's renowned strength, the king offered a seemingly easy challenge: lift his pet cat off the ground. But this cat was as tall as Thor. Every time he tried to lift it, it arched its back, and straining with all his godly might, he only managed to lift 1 paw. Enraged, Thor demanded to wrestle any of the giants. The king summoned the giant's old nursemaid, Ellie. Though the woman looked frail, Thor couldn't overpower her and grew weaker the longer he struggled, until he was brought to one knee. The 3 companions prepared to leave, disappointed and humbled. But as the king escorted them out, he revealed that nothing in the castle had been what it seemed. Loki lost the eating contest because his opponent Logi was wildfire itself, devouring everything in its path. Thjalfi couldn't outrun Hugi because Hugi was the embodiment of thought, always faster than action. And even Thor couldn't defeat Ellie or old age, which weakens everyone eventually. As for the other challenges, they had also been illusions. The drinking horn was filled with the ocean, and Thor had drained enough to cause the tides. The cat was the serpent that encircles the world, and Thor's efforts shifted the earth. And Skrimir had been Utgard Loki in disguise, deflecting Thor's hammer blows to form valleys in the surrounding mountains. The giant congratulated them on their prowess, which so frightened him he would never allow them in his land again. Thor and his companions failed the challenges presented to them, but in trying to achieve the impossible, they'd pushed themselves harder than ever before and changed the world in ways no one had expected. If you're interested in journeying deeper into the world of Norse gods and goddesses, we highly recommend Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology. It's full of so many incredible stories, and you can download an audio version of the book for free at audible.com/TEDEd.
Who is that guy?
He's like Iron Man, Thor rolled into one.
Spider-Man, meet Mr. Beck. We have a job to do. You're coming with us.
We need to stop it here now. Let's go save the world, Spider-Man.
Doing what? Yo, what is going on?
Mysterio is here, but there's a plot twist.
He's a good guy.
He's pretending to be a good guy. Remember that was a Mysterio thing the whole time? He was creating.
With his harebrained
and then
schemes
fighting it,
and
then
asinine
like
dealings with the gods, King Midas ruled the
But
ancient.
why would they tell the plot twist off?
They did. You think Mysterio's a hero?
No, I know Mysterio's the bad guy. He's always the bad guy.
Yeah, but that's always been the Mysterio thing, though.
But then why would they do that?
Huh?
Why would they have Nick Fury make him a good god after Iron
So
Man
they
dies?
think that you think that this shit is about something else.
But I know Mysterio's the bad guy for this shit. There's no other bad guy.
You know.
Yeah.
Callie won't know.
Callie's an idiot.
Oh my god. You need to stop.
Not like that. Not an idiot like that, bro. More like he didn't watch comics. He's not a comic head. He's more of a military bro. He cares more about like cars and shit like that. He's like John and Jose. So Jose cares about comics too. Jose will get caught by the Mysterio shit too. Jose doesn't remember comics. I do. Because Gray talks about comics 24/7. And I have mad nerd friends who only talk about his comics. I actually read manga. Y'all don't. I do a lot of shit. I don't.
Oh, word? I don't? You know that for a fact?
You read your manga, I read my manga. We all read specific manga. I only read One Piece now because everything is boring. Literally. And also, reading is boring.
You didn't even finish Attack on Titan.
I don't read Attack on Titan. I'm about to watch it, but that shit just got boring to me because you spoiled everything. I don't really care no more.
I spoiled everything.
Yeah, brother. Nigga read too much. And my little brother spoiled everything too, so I don't really care. I don't even talk to my little brother because he's writing his own book.
Alright.
Deadass. He's
About
writing his
what?
own fucking book.
He
That
ain't
shit is
never
mad
lived-
intricate as hell.
He ain't never lived life. What you writing about?
He's writing about yo, that nigga's one of the motherfuckers.
You read some of it?
Yeah, I read the first like paragraph. And I'm not doing this. I hit
How
him
much
up.
you got so far?
He got like, bro, he got fans. He got a whole web series, bro. He got fans. He got niggas telling him, yo, you better write more. Like, that nigga's doing shit with his wife. And he's still playing soccer. And my other little brother's a
You should
fucking.
have been in London.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to
You probably
London.
would have been famous by now.
Yeah, I would be, but I don't want to be. But I could be famous right now. These niggas not taking me seriously outside. They think I'm a joke.
Nah. You see,
It's okay. I don't care. I really don't. That's the beauty of the game. They don't need to recognize me. They dead ass did episode 1 and 2 and they all know me. And they keep telling me, yo, keep writing. You talented. Nigga, I wrote music for years. That can suck my dick. I've been doing music for 5 years. You know, he's talking about me. I'm just acting a fool outside because everybody's locked up.
Kingdom of Phrygia with an uneven hand.
And
He
then
was
all the
known
little
in
kids
Greek
are
mythology
fighting all the old
as-
heads because the old heads attack the little kids and fucking robbing them. When the white people are fucking robbing them, they do all the weed. They're grown in their houses. Literally. And they just give it to their friends in the city. And then we getting weed from Cali, and Cali's dry as shit, so all our shipment is done off. We supposed to be getting weed from niggas in Williamsburg. We fucking stupid. We supposed to be robbing niggas in Williamsburg, the niggas down the block, just go to their cribs, throw a party, steal all their weed when they pass out. We just don't get invited to them shits because everybody does an Airbnb. And we got mad foreign niggas in New York right now because
nah,
everybody
you see,
going
for niggas, for these white people throwing these parties, we gotta do what Will say. We gotta just crash that party, honestly,
I'm with it.
with mad coke
I'm with it.
and just sell that shit.
I'm with it.
But we gotta buy the coke.
I got somebody who's gonna sell it to me. Up the block. Nigga live in the way building. It's just up to y'all if y'all want to be about that shit.
Who you talking about? Cop?
Hmm?
Cop?
Who?
What's his name?
Killer.
What do
The
you?
road
The brown nigga live on the block. He used to go to tech.
The brown guy?
Yeah.
The brown guy.
Yeah, when they showed him off.
The one that shows him on.
Yeah.
He's short,
Yeah.
kind of chubby.
The one I was showing yesterday.
Short, kind of chubby.
Yeah, with the beard.
Cop.
His name's Scott. Class 28 something.
You say you used to go to tech?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what I said.
I got him on Facebook.
I know.
Straight.
I know y'all cool. He tell me y'all cool. He said he knows you and everything. He said if whenever I'm down to sell coke to white bitches, let him know. I told him to talk. I told him that's not my business though. I do cigarettes. He's like, well, whenever I want to get in the coke game, let him know. I was like, whatever. That's my shit.
whose antics bemused his people and
Oh, I know what everybody on this block does.
distracted the gods.
They
Midas
all
spent
scared
his
of me.
days in a stupor of
They think I work
splendor,
with the cops.
spoiling himself and his beloved
Because
daughter,
I'm cool with the
and
cops too.
gorging himself on feasts and wine.
You're
Unsurprisingly, he felt an affinity with
I haven't told the cops
Dionysus,
shit.
god of wine,
They think I'm a
carnival, and performance.
I'm about an aspiring musician. Trying to be like 6'9".
One day,
Yo,
Midas
if you don't
discovered
really speak
a
downstairs,
satyr
I'm about to do it now.
dozing in his rose garden and drunk.
Well, technically, I'm on live watching videos, so you can go downstairs. I haven't said your name much.
On more than a scent of flowers. Midas recognized the satyr as one of Dionysus's followers and let him nurse his hangover at the palace.
Well, I'm on YouTube, though. Don't worry about it.
Pleased with the king's hospitality, Dionysus offered to grant him one wish. Midas cast a greedy eye over his surroundings. Despite the luxury in which he lived, no amount of
What? They can't see you.
Because, first of all, nigga, please,
What the fuck are you scared of?
nigga, can you just please?
I'm doing my 5 fingers of that thing. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna face it toward you. Can't watch my phone. What the fuck are you scared of?
Please stop thinking shit is